Today, we're looking at a blue ink by Pelikan, their 4001 Royal Blue. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. There's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I would appreciate if you check out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can check me out over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put it into this Noodler's Naponsu with a music nib. I wrote with it for a day and then used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize some of the writing sample, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now, more papers are tested and they'll show up a bit later. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer a lot of shading, although it's going from a very, very light, almost unreadable, to a darker readable tone. Extra fine is darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some nice shading. Look it over from light to dark, brown from dark to light. So it is there. It's not really stand out and huge, but it's there, and 8 seconds to dry. Now medium is much darker than everything on the page with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine does show some color variation. We did get some. The medium showed none, and we got none. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Sorry, it does offer some shading. You look at the K is a bit darker at the top than it is on the letters around. The LI is much lighter than the letters around. Medium is darker than the stub. Medium. Extra fine is darker than a stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer some shading. You look at brown, goes from darker to lighter. Fox goes from a mid-tone to a darker tone, although the darker tone in this is a light tone. 14 seconds to dry. Medium is much darker than everything on the page with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine does show a little bit of color variation. We get a little, medium shows none, and we get none. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It offers shading in that if you look around, you see lighter letters like the LU compared to the K in Pelikan. Extra fine is darker than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer some decent shading spots. You look at the K in Quick is darker than the letters next to it, the B in Brown, the X in Fox. 18 seconds to dry, and I put a question mark because that just seems so confusing to me when we get to the medium, but it's what happened. Medium is much darker than everything on the page with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. I know I didn't mix them up. I put why was the extra fine so long? Why was it reversed like that? What happened? It didn't affect my average dry time because I'm averaging them. The scrubby for the extra fine does show some color variation. There's a little bit there. It's about that. The medium shows none, and we got none. I agree with Vita that we learn a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds, and we see this is a good prime blue. It just moves its way up all the way as a blue fairly evenly, not like it's been painted even. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And we do see a very clear blue line that's being established across the bottom that it is getting into the filter paper. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it is really a washed out color, and I probably wouldn't use it for note taking for that reason, although it is basically readable, but I wouldn't use it. water is starting to reactivate and lift it off the page. And if you look at the right side, you do see that we're getting ready to get towards the white of the paper. Now, I only needed water to get this out of my pen. But if you needed to use pen flush, you see that it is doing a little bit more. You see on the bottom part, you're really starting to see the white of the paper coming through. So pen flush is the most you should ever need. The 1/3 bleach solution completely obliterates it, but you should not need that to get it out of your pen. I test the viscosity or flow using a tilt test, which I'm going to link the video showing how I do that. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Pelikan 4001's Royal Blue has a viscosity of 2.72, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average all 6 of those numbers. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Pelikan 4001's Royal Blue has an average dry time of 14 seconds, making it again normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Pelikan 4001's Royal Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. So I wanted a nice yellow, and I chose Noodler's Golden Brown. The second writing sample is done on P. Berger, Strathmore Writing, and Vinta paper. Here we're looking at P. Berger, a French Rules student grade paper. Now, we get a lot of bleeding. It did not touch the page underneath with any of this, but you can't use the back of the page. It's got so much show through from it. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little darker than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. 4 seconds to dry. The medium, by far the darkest tone on the page. It had the most bleed through on the other side, and it has feathering the whole way through. Tiny little feathers, the whole entire thing. Not to where you can't read it and it's that distracting, but to know that it's there. It's got no spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows no color variation, and we didn't get any. Strathmore Writing paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is darker than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 6 seconds to dry. The medium is by far darkest tone on the page, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no real color variation. The extra fine does show a tiny little bit, and we really don't get it. We don't get any in the medium. Last up is Vinta Notebooks, hashtag the modern traveler. Now, we do get a bunch of bleeding when it comes to the medium, not so much for the extra fine. We do get a lot of show through for the medium. None of it touched the page underneath. I think this is perfectly good performance in a little pocket notebook, so we don't have to worry about it. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit darker than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Medium, by far the darkest tone on the page, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any, and that is all that I... So what do I think of Pelikan 4001's Royal Blue? There's no real shading to have in the writing, which is only a problem because there's so many blues to choose from. If there weren't as many blues out there, this would be a great standard blue for someone to go to. With that being said, I can completely understand why it would be chosen for somebody's standard blue, with it being very inexpensive. And if you do as much writing as I do, inexpensive ink is sometimes what you do need. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience? A dry pen puts down a horrible version of this ink, so you really want a medium to wet flow, medium or broad pen. Puts down a very pleasant tone then, and you get to see some of the qualities of this ink. I'm going to remind you that I'm here every day with a new ink review. Thanks for watching.